Maybe it was a job loss, a medical bill, a divorce, a stretch where survival mattered more than any credit score. However it happened, you're looking at a credit report now that feels unrecognizable. Collections, late payments, maybe a charge-off or two. And the overwhelming feeling is that there's no real starting point, just damage everywhere at once. There is a starting point. Not a quick fix, not a trick, a real 90-day sequence that takes wrecked credit from chaos to a clear, working plan. Tonight, exactly what that looks like, week by week. Before any action, you need the complete, accurate picture, not a guess, the actual data. Pull all 3 credit reports, not just one. As covered before, the 3 bureaus don't share information, so a full picture requires seeing all 3. List every negative item on a single sheet or a simple spreadsheet. For each one, the creditor, the amount, the date it went delinquent, which bureau it's reporting on, and whether it's still with the original creditor or has been sold to a collection agency. This step alone changes the entire feeling of the situation. Unstructured dread, everything is bad, becomes a finite list. 10 items, 15 items, a number, not a fog. Numbers can be worked through one at a time. Fog cannot. Note the age of each item too. This matters more than it seems, because negative items generally fall off after 7 years regardless of what happens next, and some of what feels urgent right now may already be closer to aging out than expected. With the full list built, sort it into 3 categories, because each requires a different approach. Category 1. Items that might be inaccurate, wrong amounts, debts that aren't actually yours, duplicate entries, items past the legal reporting window that are still showing. These get disputed directly with the bureaus, not negotiated. As covered in an earlier video, over 75% of credit reports contain some kind of error. A wrecked report is exactly the kind of report likely to contain a few genuinely disputable mistakes. Category 2. Legitimate collections and charge-offs. These are accurate debts that need a decision. Pay in full, negotiate a settlement, or in some cases simply let them continue toward the 7-year mark if a low balance and the math doesn't favor immediate payment. Category 3. Current accounts that are still active but behind, meaning not yet charged off, still with the original creditor, potentially salvageable through direct communication. This sorting matters because treating all 3 categories the same way wastes both money and time. Disputing a legitimate debt accomplishes nothing. Negotiating an inaccurate item that should simply be removed means paying for something that wasn't owed. The category determines the correct next move. Now the actual work begins, running 2 tracks simultaneously. For Category 1, the disputable items, file disputes with each bureau where the item appears. Be specific about what's wrong. Include any documentation available. The bureau generally has 30 days to investigate. For Category 2, legitimate collections, this is where prioritization matters, because a wrecked report often has too many items to negotiate all at once. Prioritize by impact. Newer negative items typically affect the score more than older ones. Higher balances on categories. The score weighs heavily, like revolving credit utilization, often matter more than a single old collection. Focus negotiation energy on the items likely to move the score the most, not simply the ones causing the most anxiety. For Category 3, accounts still active but behind, contact those creditors directly. Ask about hardship programs, payment plans, or reaging options, where an account brought current can sometimes have its delinquency status adjusted. This conversation is easier and more productive before an account charges off than after. While disputes and negotiations continue in the background, this phase starts building something new, because recovery isn't only about removing negative items. It's also about creating positive information to offset them. If access to a secured credit card is available, this is the time to open one. A secured card reports to the bureaus like any other card, and consistent on-time payments start building new positive history immediately, even while old negative items are still being worked through. If a secured card isn't accessible yet, becoming an authorized user on a family member's well-managed, long-standing account can add positive history to a file, though this depends entirely on the primary cardholder's own responsible use. Every payment made on time from this point forward, rent if it's reported, utilities if using a reporting service, any current credit account, is a data point working in the opposite direction of the damage. The score doesn't just measure the negative, it measures the balance of negative against recent positive, and recent positive is entirely within reach starting today. By day 90, results from the first two tracks should be becoming visible. Some disputes may have resulted in removals. Some negotiations may have settled. Some active accounts may have stabilized. Pull a fresh report and compare it against the original list from day 1. What was removed? What was resolved? What remains? For what remains, the plan continues, just at a steadier pace. Continue disputing anything still inaccurate. Continue negotiating what's realistic. Continue building positive history without interruption, because this is a multi-month process, not a 90-day finish line. 90 days is the foundation, not the completion. Set a realistic timeline expectation going forward. Genuine credit recovery from a wrecked report typically takes 12 to 24 months to substantially rebuild, sometimes longer for the most severe situations. The first 90 days determine whether that rebuild is organized and moving or scattered and stalled. It does not determine whether the rebuild is finished, because it never finishes in 90 days for a genuinely wrecked file. Wrecked credit feels like an undifferentiated mass of bad news. It isn't. It's a specific, finite list of specific, addressable items, and every one of them has a correct next move. Days 1 through 7. Get the complete picture. All 3 bureaus, everything listed. Days 8 through 20. Sort into disputable, negotiable, and salvageable active categories. Days 21 through 45. Execute disputes and negotiations on separate tracks. Days 46 through 70. Build new positive history in parallel, starting immediately rather than waiting for the damage to clear first. Days 71 through 90. Review results and set the realistic long-term plan. This isn't fast, but it's a real, structured path, and a real, structured path is the difference between a credit report that stays wrecked indefinitely and one that's measurably, steadily recovering a year from now. This is Credit Clarity. We'll see you in the next one.